for this presentation on the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. As many of you are aware that in the last 52 years, since 1966, Srila Prabhupada has established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada's books have created magic all over the world, and we have had more than 500 million books distributed across the world, 50 crores of Srila Prabhupada's books, and still counting. Srila Prabhupada created a revolution by bringing the traditional Srimad Bhagavatam, which was in Sanskrit, and for the first time gave elaborate commentaries in English. Srila Prabhupada then translated the Bengali Chaitanya Charitamrita into also English. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada actually created a revolution by demystifying the ancient traditional Vedic literatures. But what we have today is a need where we need to preserve our tradition, our culture, and understand the very roots from where all of this have come. And therefore, in the year 2009, His Grace Hari Shauri Prabhu and His Grace Pranava Prabhu together, they came together and decided to create a library for Vaishnava resources and Vaishnava literatures, especially the Gaudiya Vaishnava texts. And they established what is now known as the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. It is based out of Kolkata. Now, how this Bhaktivedanta Research Center is connected to a global plan for creating a wave on entry of Vaishnavas into the academic world is what today's presentation is all about. As you know, that India has approximately 2 million temples, and the world has a population of 7.6 billion, out of which 31% are Christians, 23% Muslims, 16% atheists and agnostics, 15% Hindus, 8.5% Buddhists. Interestingly enough, although Buddhists are only 8.5% population of the world, but still, if you go to America, you will see that Buddhism is considered almost as a mainstream. And the reason being that way back in the 70s, the Dalai Lama and many of his associates, they actually invested in having scholars do PhDs in Buddhism in North American universities. And over the last several decades, they have created quite a few Buddhist universities. And therefore, across the world, influence is created by how strongly one is entrenched into the academics. And ISKCON has been at the forefront of this over the last 2.5 decades through the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, which was one of the pioneering projects started by Shaunaka Rishi Prabhu, and several scholars have been created. In India, we have what is known as a policy of secularism, and very strangely, India is one of the few countries in the whole world where religious studies program is conspicuous by its absence in the university system. So therefore, in today's presentation, we are trying to see that after the first 50 years of ISKCON's presence, where we have sowed the seeds and established temples all over the world, is this the right time for ISKCON to stepping up its presence in the academia, to influence the intelligentsia, to be able to have trained academic Vaishnava scholars who could be part of policy making for the governments, especially in India. And so with that perspective, I'll just take you through this slideshow of the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. So serving ISKCON with a global library, museum, research center, and academic institute, preserving and researching and disseminating the Vaishnava history, culture, and religion. So, the reality we see is that the problems of the world, we don't need too much discussion on that, on how the influence is growing. Just to give you a brief statistics is of India alone, where 370 people every day are committing suicide. So it's a tremendous problem which all of us are experiencing. And therefore, we are looking at how to have education as a solution. And in the context of education as a solution, then what are the 7 purposes of ISKCON? So, if you look at Srila Prabhupada's idea of the 7 purposes of ISKCON, then we find that quite a few of those purposes are concerned with transmission of spiritual knowledge. And so you can see that some of these have been highlighted. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada very much wanted ISKCON to be at the forefront of spreading spiritual knowledge. And in the famous Bhagavatam verse, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo, he wanted the spiritual education to create a revolution in the world's misdirected civilization. That means devotees with their knowledge of Krishna consciousness should be in a position to give vision to the whole world in which way we should be proceeding. Just to give you an example, that in India, 27 crore or 270 million students are in the school system, 30 million students are in the college system. But still in India, we find that approximately $500 million worth of drugs enter through the borders every single day. And so many youth are subjected to this kind of drug abuse. And the reason being that there is only a focus on career without a focus on proper character and value system being developed. And therefore, there is an imbalance in education, and there is absence of any kind of knowledge on religion, culture, ethics, and spirituality. Ironically, during the COVID corona period, the government decided to rerun Ramayana and Mahabharata. And then the BBC reported that this was the largest ever audience for any kind of television program. And you can see that it was a rerun of a television program which was shown approximately 25 to 30 years ago. But India is India, and therefore you cannot avoid religion, culture, ethics, and spirituality. The question is, in this current state, how do we actually connect this Vedic culture and wisdom to people who are totally misdirected, and any kind of forum for formal transmission seems to be very much missing. And therefore, the 3 aspects of education would be to preserve and to teach and to research. So, if we look at preserve, teach, and research, then the next generation of ISKCON's higher education would be concerned with these 3 aspects. So, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center is trying to serve the entire community of ISKCON, because now ISKCON must be having approximately more than at least 200,000 devotees who are practicing seriously, may even be initiated, and a very large number of devotees have studied Srila Prabhupada's book systematically, and they are looking at opportunities by which they can actually enter deeply into academics. They want to understand the Krishna conscious philosophy through a proper, a process of academic education. So therefore, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center helps to preserve the Global Library and Museum. The research center, the research, which can be done by scholars from across the world. And very soon, Dr. Sumanta will share with you some of the aspects of that research. And then ultimately, the dream is we should be able to start our own university in India and then gradually across the world. And just like the Mormons have their fantastic university in Utah, which is not only something which is very much for the Mormon community, It is also open to the outside world, and it rates amongst the top 10 universities amongst America's universities. It's a pretty huge achievement. And therefore, how can we create this kind of a transformation? So let us go step by step and see the Global Library and Museum. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his South India tour was the one who got the Brahma Samhita, and he also got the Krishna Karanamritam when he went to Kerala from the Adikeshav temple. And Srila Prabhupada writes in his letter to Achyutananda Swami at that time, treat this matter very seriously and thoroughly, take all precautions to protect this wonderful boon of literature forever. These are important works and they must be preserved forever. So, what is that expense? So, this is Srila Prabhupada with Lalit Prasad Thakur, one of the Saraswati Thakur's brothers. And many such manuscripts of the Gaudiya Vaishnava literature are present in various gharanas, various households, various part bodies across Bengal. And over the last 10 years, a huge team of devotees were engaged in getting these manuscripts. Again, Prabhupada is telling to Yadubara Prabhu from Birnagar that please come for photographing all of the manuscripts in the position of Lalit Prasad Thakur, page by page, very completely before it is too late. Pages are in decrepit condition. They may be preserved for future generation of Vaishnavas to see the actual handwriting and words of such great saintly persons. Treat this matter very seriously and thoroughly and take all the precautions to protect this wonderful boon of literatures forever. Again, in the right side, you see Yadubar may photograph every page. Never mind Bengali, English, any other language. These items are very, very priceless. Are a great treasure house of Vaishnava lore. So be very careful in the matter. Take all precautions to guard them. Below, you see, regarding the manuscripts, you may photograph all the pages. We shall type them later. If there is shortage of film, I have instructed Karandar to send you large supply of the appropriate film for photographing the pages. Or you may purchase there and we shall pay from book fund. These are important works and they must be preserved forever. So what is that expense? This shows that this is a very less known aspect of Srila Prabhupada's emphasis, that Srila Prabhupada emphasized on establishing temples, distributing books, having farm communities. Srila Prabhupada emphasized on the Bhaktivedanta Institute. He emphasized on having gurukuls. These are all very well known. But maybe many of you may not be aware that Srila Prabhupada considered preserving these Vaishnava literatures written by the previous generation of Vaishnavas and having darshan of those literatures as a very important aspect of our Vaishnava tradition. And therefore, you know, we actually have devotees having things at their homes, books at their homes. Then we want to have every temple to have libraries, they which already have, but how to make it even more sophisticated and to have a global library come museum, state of the art preservation and digitization, exquisite museum. This is the one which we are having at the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. So therefore, this global research center was envisaged initially by Saraswati Thakur. He said, if I fail to complete the Vaishnava Manjusha this time, then for this alone, once again, I will have to come back to this material world in order to complete it. So this is such an important project for Srila Saraswati Thakur, that the Vaishnava Manjusha is an encyclopedia of Vaishnavism. This is the last will of His Divine Grace, written on 31st December at 10:30 a.m. 1936. That Sundarananda to edit the Manjusha. You see the blue encircled line on top. To edit the Manjusha. This was a very big priority for Srila Saraswati Thakur. And then, with respect to the Thakur Bhaktivedanta Research Institute, this is the handwriting of Saraswati Thakur. You see in the edits, and you see the various members. The president is, Saraswati Thakur. Then Bhakti Sudhakar is the vice president, and along with that, you have this, the members. If you see the members, they're all having various degrees of MA, BA, etc. So, taking the vision of our Vaishnava Acharyas, we are thinking the next generation research is that, okay, we are a library sitting in one corner in Calcutta in a lane which 99.9% of ISKCON doesn't know where it is. And most people are even wondering, is it worth investing in a library? Many devotees and ISKCON temples are very convinced about the need for Govinda's restaurant and a matchless gift stall. But then, is library really worth it? So, in a culture where people's reading habits and patience to spend time with the books is going down, it is all the more important for us to invest in a culture of serious research and study. And therefore, you know, as per Srila Prabhupada's instructions, we are trying to collaborate with world class research scholars and universities who really know how to do this properly. So then, individuals they do scrutinizing study, but then groups of devotees come together and they study, and then they go through Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhaktivedanta, all those degrees. But at a global level, if we have to create impact in the world, can ISKCON devotees who have the potential to do scholarship, it's not for everybody, but those who have the ability, they have the capacity, they have the inclination, the wherewithal, the time to invest. So we are trying to facilitate a platform how ISKCON devotees can connect with world-class research scholars, international universities. I mean, none of the universities in the world is out of reach, and you'll hear about that in a short while from now. And a global hub for all research, where the topmost standards for research are established here. And then ultimately we are able to teach global academic institute. So the next generation teaching is world-class accredited degree and certificate programs with top-notch professors and universities. And this will take us to the next level because we have already gone through ISKCON's history of regular and structured education, but we have still not hit the third part, which is the formal, which is accredited degree, diploma, and certificate courses. And so Ravindra Swarup Prabhu mentioned in his Vyas Puja offering that during 1976 Gaur Purnima festival in Mayapur, Prabhupada called Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, and he told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and then Prabhupada told Ravindra Swarup Prabhu a plan to establish in Sridham Mayapur what you called ISKCON Bhagavat College. You also told Tamal Krishna Maharaj to compile a list of ISKCON devotees in the West who already had undergraduate degrees. From these would come the students at ISKCON Bhagavat College. Then the faculty would be composed of Ravindra Swarup Prabhu and others who had PhDs. Then he had instructed to go to University of Calcutta and confer with the authorities about affiliating ISKCON Bhagavat College with Calcutta University. That what you wanted in Mayapur was a degree granting graduate research institute. Prabhupada told Ravindra Swarup Prabhu that students at ISKCON Bhagavat College would prepare their dissertations under our directions and that the University of Calcutta would give the final exam and award the degree. And that degree would be PhDB, Doctor of Bhagavat Philosophy. So this is all Prabhupada's vision. And these are excerpts from room conversations in 1975 where Prabhupada is talking about, degree recognized by state of California. And then, Bahulash was saying we can become member of the Graduate Theological Union, and Prabhupada said, yes, we shall take it. And then encouraging that we should do that. So then he's telling Bahulash Prabhu, in Mayapur you speak, you wanted Mayapur to become college for University of Calcutta. Why Mayapur? Everywhere. Whole educational system should be changed. So therefore, at that point Prabhupada was searching for the PhDs and he was very much encouraging. And in a letter to Giriraj Maharaj, he mentions, to take your postgraduate studies in divinity by comparative study, then we shall be able to present the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in comparison to other theological presentations. Some of the top scholars in ISKCON who are currently there, they became inspired by this one letter where Prabhupada is speaking about comparative religion. And in fact, Jiva Goswami's Shat Sandarbhas can be considered to be the first 6 PhD theses in our parampara, where he has given a complete thematic presentation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he had his own Bhagavat school running in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So we'll just run you through these 3 details of the Global Library and Museum. We have more than 20,000 books and journals. The breakup you can see from Gaudiya Vaishnavism to Vaishnavism to Hinduism, other religions, and Indian culture, 8,800 books. So total 20,000 books and journals we have. These are some of the precious gems of 2,800 books and journals. We have books of the Goswamis, Kaviraj Goswami, Kavi Karnapur, Chakravarti Pad, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Thakur. All the breakup is there. The manuscript mission has been traveling across various villages and places and temples in Bengal and got more than 12,050 digitized manuscripts and more than 150 physical, 1200 plus digitized and catalog 3000. This is how all of these look like when you visit our Bhaktivedanta Research Center in this is Pradyumna Prabhu, the original Sanskrit editor Panditji of Srila Prabhupada. We have the beautiful gift given by Bodhayan Swami Maharaj about the entire collection of Sundarananda Vidya Vinod. Various personalities have visited and blessed, and these are some of the digital collection we have of scanned books, scanned newspapers. When I say scanned newspapers, it means the Gaudiya newspapers, which was being run by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, called Nadia Prakash. Scanned journals, scanned manuscripts, and ebooks of 24 terabytes. We took the guidance of top librarians. The head librarian of IIT Mumbai is guiding us, Dr. Manju Naika, and Dr. Sandeep Bhavsar is a PhD also in library science. Is the head librarian, Wellington Institute of Management. Both of them are our chief consultants. If you wish to visit the BRC online library and access 20,000 books, this is the URL: library.brcindia.com. Otherwise, if you just go to www.brcindia.com, you'll visit the main website and you'll get the link there. So you can search for the book by the title. You can download the book if available. If downloadable copy is not available, please email at library@brckolkata.com and we will try to email you a copy of that. This is how a typical screenshot looks like. And Prabhupada's Grantha Mandir of all of Srila Prabhupada's books will be kept. And these are Srila Prabhupada's quotes on how to take this very seriously, and we really want to keep Srila Prabhupada's books. And if you come there, you will see Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, in 57 languages kept there. The opening happened in June 2009 with the blessings of Jayapatak Maharaj, Bhakticharu Maharaj, and the donor, Sri Shyama. Before it was like a house, and then later, thanks to Harishori Prabhu and Pranava Prabhu and other devotees' efforts, it was transformed completely. Research scholars can come, and we have at least 10 rooms where you can come and stay. And the rare book section is very secure, and we have moving racks, and we have a fireproof file cabinet for at least 2 hours. Some of the rare jewels is the original Gaur Arti written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the original handwriting is still there. The last will of Saraswati Thakur original is still there. If you are ever curious to know what is Lord Chaitanya's handwriting like, then we have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's handwriting in the 10th canto Bhagavatam with Gadadhar Punda's commentary and Mahaprabhu's annotations. Saraswati Thakur's personal diary, the only known photo of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, 1970 2015 Back to Godhead collection Bhagavad Gita in all the languages. Core collection is a personal collection of Sundarananda Vidya Vinod, who was a disciple of Srila Saraswati Thakur, given to us by Sripad Bodhayan Maharaj, Acharya of the Gopinath Gaudiya Math. We are very grateful to him for this. And this has various rare books and very rare copies, especially the whole Nadia Prakash, Gaudiya, Sajjan Toshini, Harmonist, and Bhagavat. All of that we got, multi volumes of Harmonist, all the Nadia Prakash yet to be deciphered into English language. Tremendous amount of work still to go. The Hindi journal started in 1931 called Bhagavat, and these were thoughts on popular topics by Kedarnath Datta, started by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. At that time, you could call Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur the cutting edge bloggers of their time. And you see this famous couplets, written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is there at the Thakur Haridas Samadhi. He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die without living still in sound. Vaishnavas die to live and live try to spread a holy name round. So all of these original literatures are there. So this is just a glimpse of Thakur Bhaktivinoda and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's. And again, we have Saraswati Thakur's biography called Jayashri, which is kind of confirmed by him, compiled and put together by some of his intimate associates. And then Jayashri Part 2, which has never been published. It is also in our possession. And very soon you're going to hear about what we are going to do about this in future. The last wishes of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, which is Saraswati Thakur, is still there, and the advice to form the governing persons is there. Astronomy books of Saraswati Thakur, the first ever literature printed by Saraswati Thakur, Bange Samajikta 1899, explaining about the society in Bengal, that is still there. Survey of the India map, Nadia map is there, published by Survey of India. Their Mayapur map, the Mayapur presence is shown. Nishikant Sanyal's the famous Sri Krishna Chaitanya is there. So in this way, this is very interesting. One of the first ever English translations of Bhagavad Gita was published in 1785 by Charles Wilkins, and its only available reprint in 1845 is there at the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. You can call this the mother of all English Bhagavad Gitas. Not in terms of the meaning and the purport, but at least in terms of the effort to convert into English language. So William Jones volumes are there also. From Prabhupada's rooms in Mayapur, we got 20 postcards in the period of 1949 to 50, and Prabhupada's rooms in Mayapur. So some interesting paraphernalia is there. And then power of attorney for Mayapur land purchase, where Prabhupada is giving power of attorney to Tamal Krishna Maharaj to go and purchase the land. And then Urmila Mataji has kindly given 317 back to Godheads in this whole period. Saraswati Thakur's personal diaries, and the manuscript mission is very interesting. Visits to 60 temples and libraries, and over 1250 manuscripts have been digitized. So you can see the three types of manuscripts. One is on the right side, the Tal palm leaf original. Then you have also have manuscripts on tree bark, and then also with handmade paper. So a lot of effort goes. There is a whole science called manuscriptology, and it requires trained people to be able to do that. And this is how they are then preserved, and they are kept like this. And so we got the digitized copies from this Gauranga Tol Mandur Navdeep, and then we have preserved it, the digitized copies. So like that, the Swalikhita Jivani is the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's autobiography, very important book, never ever translated into English so far. We'll hear about it. These are some of the equipments we have for scanning, and this is how the process of scanning happens. Nadia Prakash was completely scanned. Paper lamination also was done because Nadia Prakash paper was coming off. 40,000 pages, 8 pages per issue, over 15 years. These were published by Saraswati Thakur, bound into 62 volumes, and it has been digitized in 40,000 images. And so we have visited, okay, just to conclude, I would like to share with you that in the course of last 5 years, I have visited so many universities across the world and in India to see how much advancement in academic education many spiritual organizations have made. And extensive visits and talks with various professors, head of the departments of religious studies. We went to Harvard, we went to Naropa, which is a fully Buddhist university. Then I've also visited the Ramakrishna Mission University at Kolkata. At Graduate Theological Union, the president of GTU visited the Govardhaneko village twice. And we found that so many spiritual organizations have created excellent universities, and many other secular universities have excellent school of religious studies. So why not ISKCON? And if you see that Maharshi also spread his movement around the same time as Srila Prabhupada. And if you go to Fairfield, Iowa, they have an excellent Maharshi University. And we visited there and had extensive dialogue with them. And this is visit by Dr. Reese Potterwell, president of GTU. And from University of Illinois, Bloomington, we had Dr. David Haberman, who visits us, and he is very much guiding us for our academic programs in India, along with Dr. Ravi Gupta and Dr. Ferdinando. And we are connecting with many such universities and many such, scholars. But ultimately, we realized that America also went through a turning point where religious studies was established as, a fundamental right of every American. And so, in the late 60s and 70s, the American Academy of Religion was established with more than 10,000 members currently. And Dr. David Haberman, who is an experienced professor in religious studies, conducted a historic 2-day international workshop on religious studies in India. And as part of that, the outcomes of that conference was the benefits of religious studies program was discussed socially. People who go through religious studies, there is an increase in tolerance, appreciation, peaceful coexistence, and educated religious leadership. On a personal level, a student experiences expansion of human possibilities, makes alien familiar and familiar alien. You get new insights into one's own perspective. You get increased understanding of religious and religions. You get enriched, and you also help connect with nature much better. So, drawing parallels from America, its application in India is secularism should not mean that we abandon all varieties of religion and stop studying them, but study all religions instead of no religion. And therefore, the missing piece is the institute which can help facilitate this kind of research and higher education and degrees. And therefore, we are envisaging this spiritual education to happen across the length and breadth of ISKCON. But specifically, we are focusing right now on India, where the subject, object, depth, and width is the subject is the spiritual scholarship, applied spirituality, and spiritual arts and sciences. So we have philosophical spirituality, comparative religion, worship, and practice. And if you see that corporations are struggling with ethical issues, with integrity issues, and therefore you need entrepreneurship and corporate leadership, efficiency and human productivity. People are overstressed and they are unable to realize their full potential. Ethics and value education, environment and sustainability, currently a huge issue in the world today, and emotions and relationship studies. So there is tremendous scope in applied spirituality. And if the Mormons could establish something like the Stephen Covey's or the Franklin Covey, Institute for Corporate Leadership Training, so why can't ISKCON also establish something similar? And so we have the spiritual arts and sciences, where all of our unlimited hidden treasure is very much available to be explored. Arts, architecture, astrology, and Ayurveda. And therefore, the object of spiritual education is who will be recipients of this spiritual education will be the schools and the colleges, the government, and the corporates. And government is a very important stakeholder, because with the new education policy lying at the table of the Prime Minister to be released very soon, is going to see large scale transformations with respect to integrating spiritual education also to some extent. And it's a very important element, because what the government can do with one stroke would take individual organizations like several generations to accomplish. And therefore, we are looking at being part of a dialogue with government for facilitating policy change in dialogue with other organizations, spiritual organizations, Hindu groups, and to also make sure that this message is taken seriously. Corporates are very much aware of the fact that now the Bhagavad Gita is not just a book, but it is a book which can help transform the overall productivity, the vision, and the ethics of a person. And therefore, these are the objects of the spiritual education. The depth is right from outreach through articles and events and these kind of Facebook live programs, where you are just getting some understanding that such initiatives are happening. Then when you hear about our courses and workshops, you could participate. Like we already have certificate and diploma courses happening in conjunction with Mumbai University. Then you can do MA by research, PhDs, and then you can do deeper levels of research. And in this way, the width of the spiritual education is affiliations with University of Calcutta, with Mumbai and Pune. Mumbai is already done, Calcutta is in the process, and Pune is also in the process for masters and PhD program. And so this is how the BRC India plans to pan out through Mumbai, Brindavan, Pune, Ahmedabad, Kolkata, and also we just established BRC New York last December, specifically to get manuscripts which have been taken from India and kept in various libraries across the East Coast, to be able to collect them, digitize them, or make microfilms so that it can be made available in our BRC website. So therefore, the scope is huge, and the international collaborations are waiting to welcome us. With so many universities across the world, they can look at India as a place which is very much vibrant, with youth energy, with very much interest in academic education, especially in religious studies. What can you do? You can contribute to the Global Library Museum Research Center, the academic institution in the next generation of higher education revolution, in any of these 8 areas. You want to offer your intellect, you want to do some research, you want to make a donation, you have some contacts whom you feel will be helpful to us, you have some great ideas, you know about some rare books from Vedic literatures or other texts which are lying with somebody whom you feel, we can either get the whole collection or get digitized copies, or you have some idea about some of the technology we can be used in any of our digitizing or knowledge dissemination process, or any other skills. The purpose of today's dialogue with all of you is to just make you aware that a gold mine is right there in a small lane in Kolkata, from where the powerful transcendental vibes is spreading all across the whole world. सन्यासी पंडित गणेर कोरिते गर्वनाश नीच शूद्र द्वारा कोरेन धर्मेर प्रकाश. Mahaprabhu specifically made sure that the traditional sannyasis and pandits, they became humbled, and people at large who may not be coming from high families or highly educated backgrounds or whatever, they were given opportunities depending on their interest intensity and their willingness to connect with Mahaprabhu's philosophy as the torch bearers of Mahaprabhu's mission. So please do connect with us at contact@brcindia.com. This is the WhatsApp number. Please do note this: +91 877 907 1763, +91 877 907 1763. Or if you want to connect with the library, library@brcindia.com, and website is www.brcindia.com. Please don't forget the contact@brcindia.com. So in this way, I come to the end of my session, and at this stage, I would like to call upon my colleague and dear friend, Dr. Sumanta. So I request the moderator to bring Dr. Sumanta on screen. Dr. Sumanta is one of the founders of the very famous VFS, Visa Facilitation Center. It is almost a $2 billion company which has revolutionized the way the travel industry functions. And he has been very much privileged to see the entire growth of such a huge conglomerate right from its inception. But interestingly enough, he also got connected to ISKCON a few years ago. And then we met around 5 years ago, and then from that time onwards, we have been having conversations on how we could take this forward. Interestingly enough, Sumanta ji has completed his PhD in management before in Mumbai University, and he is going through his second PhD in Sanskrit and Vaishnavism with Kanchipuram University. So he is a full-fledged corporate, having a full 12-hour corporate job. But I just want to share with you the power of desire and priority, that because his passion for Vaishnava academics is so high, that beyond his 8 to 12-hour corporate job, he invests quality time. And I'm happy to share that he is now the Dean of Academics for Bhaktivedanta Research Center, and also a trustee and a friend, philosopher, and guide. I have the honor of sharing with all of you Dr. Sumanta Rudra. You have the floor, Dr. Sumanta.
Thank you, Gauranga Prabhuji. I would like to Dandavat pranams to all the people who are in this program. I would like to take through the research which we are doing at the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. So this is the screen which we are seeing on the left hand side is the one Ultodanga building, which we are also doing research. On the right hand side of the screen, you see a Chaitanya tree, and it's the complete Chaitanya tree which we have created in our research center. And then there are a few research scholars who are working, and there's an interview of a Babaji by one of our research scholars. So we have a very in-depth research which are being, and this is typically a room of our research center where the research fellows are working full-time on our various programs. At this point of time, we are running about 14 research projects. To begin with, we are doing a Vaishnava encyclopedia. We are doing a Swalitika Jivani, Maharas Manjusha, One Ultodanga Junction Road. We are doing philosophical counseling through ancient Indian text, Bhagavad tradition in Maharashtra, Bhagavad tradition in Bengal, Vaishnava journals of colonial Bengal, songs of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and also there is a series called as Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's Research Project Series, in which we are going to translate Saraswati Jayashree 1, Volume 1 and 2, and Diary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, PhD thesis of Swaminathan Das, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's his life, history, and thought. The team which is leading is Pranava Das, who is the co-founder of BRC in 2008 and has been academic director since 2008. He's a PhD and an associate professor in a leading European university. He is being assisted by Kamla Priya Devidasi, who is a research assistant at BRC and MA in education from an European university. I'll in brief tell you about all these various projects. Volume 1, Sri Parva, is an important text that covers the early life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It has about 100 pages and has never been ever published before. The original text is in Bengali, and we'll now be publishing it in English. Sri Prava explains Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's Saraswati Thakur's early life with his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur and how he has learned under his guidance. It further describes Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's studies in Calcutta, his careers as an assistant of the king of Tripura till about year 1900. Sri Parva is a wonderful text based on the information given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to his disciple who wrote it down. It has been edited by his secretary Sundaranand Vidya Vinod and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati himself. The second one is a volume 2, which is a biography of His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada. And this discusses the life of Bhaktisiddhanta as an ascetic till 1918 when he took sannyasa. Further, it describes the first years of the spreading of the Gaudiya Math and this mission from 1918 to 1926. This biography is unique, and the information written by his follower is very accurate and written with elegance and precision. Vaibhav Prabha was published by Gaudiya Math in Bengali in 1934 at the occasion of the 60th appearance anniversary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. It has never been translated from Bengali to English. The volume has about 300 pages. A very important work is the Diary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, which with entries covering over 30 years of his life. The diary started on January 1, 1904 and ends on December 20, 1936, just a few days before his disappearance. In the entries, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati describes his daily activities, special occasions like the installation of different deities, his travel and visits to holy places, as well as names of the people he met. The diary was handwritten by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and had later been copied for evidences during the court case of Gaudiya Math. Its authenticity is proved through notes written on that site by the legal authority. The diary has about 450 pages, including connotation, and this has never been published. Very important work is the History of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, a PhD thesis by Sambhidananda Das. The book explains the history of Vaishnavism from the beginning until the Gaudiya Math in 1935. It further explains the relationship of Gaudiya Vaishnavism and other Vaishnava Sampradayas. The Gaudiya Math published most of the books in 1995, and the publication will be new and complete edition with about 700 pages. This is one of our most classical and flagship project that is going to come out this year. That is the Swalitika Jivani of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur's autobiography. And I will just explain you how we look. This is a team overview, layout, tracker, and details. The team is Dr. Abhishek Ghosh, Krishna Abhishek from Assistant Professor of Religious Study and Liberal Study at the Grand Valley State Utah University. Dr. Shantanu De, Assistant Professor, Associate Professor, Department of History, Ramakrishna Mission Vidya Mandir, and Ms. Shrimanti Ghoshal, who is the Research Fellow. Swalitika Jivani deals with the life and preaching as enshrined in the biography of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur Kedarnath Datta, which is written in Bengali in the form of a letter to his son Lalita Prasad Datta. The biography will not only enshrine Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life in his own word, but will also showcase varied influence and concepts specific to Vaishnavism in colonial Bengal. The reason for taking up this project is to provide academics as well as devotees this all-important text as an entry point to the life of a pioneer of a Gaudiya Vaishnava in colonial times. This book will be printed, will have about 110,000 words, and this is how the whole book will look. That is cover to the index. We have all planned and it is ready. This is a typical tracker which we follow. Translation is completed and the manuscript submission will be 30th of December. And the details of the entire book will be the entire book, which is in Bengali of 203 pages, will be translated to English. There's a plan to prepare a list of terminologies, personalities, and places from the autobiography that will be annotated along with appropriate citation and explanation. Frequently occurring certain Bengali words will be listed, and appropriate meanings and shall be ascertained at the end of the translation. As the Swalitika Jivani was written in 1896, so a postscript about last 18 years of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life will also be provided. A visual documentation of Thakur's life shall be presented by a photographic of the places where he visited and he was staying. And finally, it will also contain an extensive bibliography of the work that Bhaktivinoda Thakur will be annotated at the end. Another very important work is the Vaishnava Encyclopedia. The project primarily aims to translate the Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava Vidhan Volume 1 to 4. The translated work will be supplemented by additional comments, annotation, and supplementary notes. And the first which we are doing is the Charitavali section. The team is Dr. Abhishek Bose, Assistant Professor, Comparative Indian Language and Literature, University of Calcutta, and Shiny and Ashwarya as the research assistant. Another important project is application of Bhagavatam. This is a new project we have just taken, Understanding Philosophical Counseling, with a special reference to Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is an influential text which is philosophical and holds immense potential to serve as a relevant source for acquiring different methods for philosophical counseling. In this project, we will use and refer to Srimad Bhagavatam to develop philosophical counseling models. The team are Dr. Himani Chaukar, Assistant Professor at the Ruya College, Dr. Sheena Ramkumar, she's a PhD researcher at Durham University, and Dr. Vatsala Pai from Ruya College. Then another project is a very research-based project which is called the Bhagavad Tradition in Maharashtra. This will bring forth facets of Bhagavad Tradition Maharashtra, fresh academic view to the project. The thirst on the project will be on the literary tradition associated with the Bhagavata Purana, and the culmination of the project will be an edited volume with research. The team members are Dr. Shakuntala Gaure, Professor at Sanskrit Department of Mumbai University, Professor Ravi Gupta, Radhikaraman Prabhu, who is the Director at Religious Study Program, Uttahar State University, and Professor Kenneth Walpe, that is Krishna Chetra Maharaj from Oxford Center of Hindu Studies. And we have team members Sneha and Deen Gauranga Das. We are working on a very important research project, that is the One Ultodanga Junction. BRC will help protect to understand the history, commencement of Gauriya Math and activities at One Ultodanga Junction by researching through various journals, books, diaries, memoirs, letters, biographies, and autobiographies during the relevant time period of 1918 to 30. The members are Pranav Das ji, Dr. Abhishek Ghosh, Dr. Abhishek Bose, and Sundar Gopal Prabhu. So these are the various projects at this point of time that BRC is taking. We also do multiple conferences in various universities across India. And some of them we did a beautiful conference on Vaishnavism, theory and practice at the Jadavpur University. We did Nexus Conference for Environmental Sustainability at the Govardhan Eco Village. We did a conference on relevance, role, and resurgence of Vaishnavism in the 21st century at Mumbai University. We had a conference on Hinduism and ecology at the Govardhan Eco Village with the Yale University. We have done conferences on Vaishnava ecology and philosophy at Ruya College, various dimensions of Vaishnava Puran with the Sanskrit Department, Mumbai University, Bhakti and Chaitanya movement with Calcutta University in February 2018, sustainably from inside outside at New York, the Bhakti Center, and the context of Vaishnavism with Ramakrishna's Vidya Mandir, Belur Math, Kolkata. And these are some of the pictures. These conferences are attended by mostly PhDs and research students who are doing their PhD, and they are very well received. And there are a lot of universities who want to cooperate with us to do research on Vaishnavism. We also do a Samvad, which is a monthly lecture series where we call top scholars talking about concepts and theories and methods of Vaishnavism studies and research. That's for me, Gauranga Prabhu, and I give it back to you. Gaurang Prabhu, your mic is on mute. Ga- Gaurang Prabhu, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted, Gaurang Prabhu.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, Gaurang Prabhu, you're audible now.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing an excellent overview about the research projects. It was really amazing. So much is being done, and I congratulate you and your team for all the research project, especially some of the historic books which are going to see the light of the day starting the end of this year with Swalikita Jivani of Thakur Bhaktivedanta. So congratulations and keep up the good work, Dr. Sumanta and team. Now may I request Dr. Thaniga Malai, or popularly known in ISKCON as Mukunda Madhav Prabhu, to join us. Uh, so I welcome Dr. Mukunda Madhav Prabhu, who is the Vice President at ISKCON Juhu and very well known for his administrative acumen within the ISKCON circle. Is also the Global Duty Officer. And one thing which many people are not aware is he is a disciple of Bhaktiswarup Damodar Swami Maharaj Ji, who was one of the founders of the BI, Bhaktivedanta Institute. And, Dr. Mukunda Madhav Prabhu spent several years in close association with Bhaktiswarup Damodar Maharaj and imbibed the whole spirit of what the whole purpose of BI was. And so, way back in 2006, he completed his PhD in philosophy from Mumbai University. And in fact, at our Bhaktivedanta Research Center at the Govardhan Eco Village, he is one of our main guides. And we are very honored to have you, Dr. Mukund Madhav Prabhu. And I want to begin by asking you a question on behalf of everybody, that how is the activities of Bhaktivedanta Research Center different from the activities of Bhaktivedanta Institute and BI? Because everybody is familiar with BI, but not so much with this philosophy element, which is now picking up. So you could probably help to connect, both the bridges.
Thank you, Gaurang Prabhu, for giving me an opportunity to participate in this session. Srila Prabhupada was very much interested to see how ISKCON's prestige is always enhanced by means of academic activities. It was in the early 70s when materialism was on high, and there was always a propaganda that life comes from chemicals. Extension of Darwin's theory is chemical evolution. So Prabhupada was very much unhappy with that because the educated person says, then everybody follows. So the question of whether life came from chemicals or from life was the biggest discussion. So in this discussion, Bhakti Swarup Damar Swami Maharaj, who was a PhD student at University of California at Irvine, he had an interaction with Stanley Miller, who actually synthesized amino acids in the laboratory. And in one of his seminars, Bhakti Swarup Damar Maharaj asked him, if I give all the chemicals, will you be able to produce life? And for that, Stanley Miller said, no, that I don't know. So
Mhm.
Bhakti Ramon Maharaj came to Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles. Every time when Prabhupada used to be in Los Angeles, he will meet him. And he mentioned
Right.
to him, there was a seminar in the university department. The professor said like this. Then I asked him a question, if I give all the chemicals, will you be able to produce life? And he said,
Mhm.
he doesn't know. Then Prabhupada said, that is rascal. So the person doesn't know he will be able to produce, but still he's talking about it. And this
Mm.
is actually the starting point of academic pursuit in ISKCON. Then Prabhupada used to have a series of conversation with Bhakti Swarup Damar Swami on the Venice beach, Los Angeles. Every single day morning they will talk about it. And these conversations are compiled in the form of the book, what is now known as Life Comes from Life. So this
Okay.
was Srila Prabhupada's starting point. Then Prabhupada wanted actually Bhakti Swarup Damar Maharaj, who was actually pursuing PhD at the time, which he actually completed later, and a group of other PhDs to start a institute to present Krishna
Mm.
consciousness in a academic language, or I can say scientific language. That is what the word that was used at that point of time. So
Mhm.
scientific language to present Krishna consciousness. That is the original purpose of this Bhaktivedanta Institute, to actually prove that the false propaganda that is made by, because academic people when they make any statement it becomes very important and people give a lot of emphasis. So in
Right.
that way, Prabhupada wanted this Bhaktivedanta Institute to actually present from the right perspective, from the Krishna conscious perspective, about modern science, whatever certain propagandas are made. Most of some of them are, without any basis. So this was actually the original purpose. But that was not just restricted only to the science, as it is sometimes misunderstood, but in any academic area, if we can present, because in Srimad Bhagavatam it is said whatever no different expertise we may have. Idam mi pumsa tapasa srutashyava suttaksha suttaksha sabuddhi dattayo avichitotta kavibir nirubidam yat uttama sloka gunanu varnanam. Any
Mm.
activity that is in glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead using any fields of knowledge, that is actually Uttama Sloka Gunanu Varnanam. This is one of the basis thing for actually Bhaktivedanta Institute, that using the science to glorify Lord Krishna. So in that
Right.
way, Srila Prabhupada, when he wanted to make this Bhaktivedanta Institute, he actually wanted a very academic courses also, in which one
Mm.
of the original prospectus that was proposed by Bhakti Swarup Damar Maharaj, which contains actually a degree of Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, and Bhakti Sarvabhauma, in which Prabhupada even made a note saying that, yes, these are very good, and these all correspond to BA, MA, MPhil, and PhD. Is
Oh,
exactly what
wow.
the Prabhupada used the same word actually. These degrees are going to be corresponding to that. So in that way, he
Interesting.
wanted academically
Mm.
presenting the Krishna consciousness. So in that way,
Interesting.
in the Prabhupada's long-term vision to how to present Krishna consciousness in an academic way so that it
Mm.
enhances the prestige. Sometimes
Mm.
no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was chanting and dancing, people said you are sentimentalist like that. But then
Mm.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Veda Tattva, which is
Mhm.
actually the ultimate philosophy. You can't have anything more than that for Vedanta Sutra. So we
Mm.
have a very, very rich source of philosophical information, and our Goswamis have written, and each one of their few pages could be one PhD thesis. You said such under by six PhD thesis. It could be 600 PhDs as far as I am concerned.
Yeah,
so,
perfect,
so
perfect.
huge information is there. So presenting this in a very academic way and making a scholarly study, which actually will enhance the prestige of ISKCON. Whenever Prabhupada would introduce Bhakti Swarup Damar Swami, he'll say, "This is our scientist. He's our
Mm,
PhD." He used to take great pleasure in saying that some of his followers are PhD, because many times people thought that ISKCON people are sentimentally dancing, chanting like that. Even few PhDs he had used to introduce them. Hey, this is our PhD, is our scientist, like that. So I am very sure that in the academic way, if you can make an impact by presenting the Krishna conscious conclusions to the academic world, not only to the academic world, to the whole world, I think this will certainly enhance the prestige of ISKCON. And I am sure that Prabhupada will be very happy, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati will be very happy, Bhakti Vinod Thakur will be happy, and they will all be happy to see that how our Krishna consciousness is taken very seriously by the academia, and then the due respect is given, so that we can enlarge the scope of presenting Krishna consciousness to a wider audience. So in that sense, I certainly feel that these academic activities are very, very important and we should pursue it. And I am very happy to be part of this also.
Thank you very much, Mukund Madhav Prabhu. Just could you just share with us about your PhD, subject, and which area you yourself did your PhD in?
Actually, Bhakti Swarup Damar Maharaj was told by Srila Prabhupada to write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Scientific
Okay.
comment. There are so many bhashyas there, Sri Bhashya, Purna Pragya Bhashya, so many bhashyas are there. Prabhupada wanted a scientific commentary on Bhakti Swarup Damar Maharaj was to do. So I was closely connected to Bhakti Swarup Damar Maharaj. So I was actually going to help him in doing that. And in the
Oh,
meantime, I wanted to do a research, PhD. So I wanted to do in philosophy, because I'm basically an engineer turned philosopher. When I read Srila
right.
Prabhupada, when I read Srila Prabhupada's book, immediately I thought that, hey, wait a minute, this is such a wonderful thing. I should be doing research in this. So I wanted to
Mm,
do PhD in the Vedanta Sutra. So I took the topic, that concept of conscious, because I had the background of consciousness studies also from science.
right,
So I took the
right.
topic of concept of consciousness in Vedanta in the light of contemporary development in consciousness studies. So I took the
Mm,
concepts of consciousness in Vedanta, and from the modern science, the consciousness studies also are developing so many concepts. So I made a
mm,
comparative study and I showed how the concept of
mm.
consciousness in Vedanta can address all the issues which are not addressed by the modern science. So that was my
Got it.
PhD.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, considering your experience teaching and connecting with the students in India,
Yeah.
what, in your opinion, would be the response from the Indian student community when some kind of academic accreditation of some of these spiritual literatures begin to happen in the academic system? Do you think Indian student community is eager for this kind of an approach? And what will be the response you feel for religious studies if it is instituted in India in a serious way?
The modern education, no, it lacks values, and the people are feeling about it. Values and morality, they are lacking, and there are definite, if not a majority of the student, because at least there are sufficient number of students who are looking forward to also include values and philosophical aspects and cultural aspect, that India's rich cultural, spiritual, and moral values based education. There are a lot of people who are interested to do in those areas. So this will be a wonderful opportunity for them to combine,
Right.
because many times it is thought that if you are going to do something spiritual, means you can't be doing academic activity kind of stuff.
Mm,
Actually, general
mm,
perception. Now an
mm.
opportunity to do an academic activity, but in a field which you like to do. In my own case, I am trained as an engineer. I never ever thought in my life that I'm going to do philosophy. But then the whole thing turned upside down when I read Srila Prabhupada's book, and I said my life itself became philosophical. Let me do that philosophical study. So in that way, I am sure there are a lot of people who are interested to pursue academically a spiritual aspect, a cultural aspect, a philosophical aspect like that. Certainly, this when many more people are going to do that, then definitely there will be a great interest created in the academic circle, and there's a great scope. There is great scope for it.
Fantastic. And specifically with respect to now ISKCON devotees who are already trained now in Gita and Bhagavad and all. So how do you think ISKCON devotees can actually contribute to this particular academic initiative in your own experience, because you have been involved with this for many years?
Oh, several ISKCON devotees, they are very much wanted to, I understand, pursue academically, a degree, and that actually will help them in their own field, as well as, many of them, they can be a preacher, good preacher also. So there are several ISKCON devotees, who have got academic qualification. When they want to do a continuing education and higher education, many of them are not very much interested to do certain areas where no, they don't have much interest, because their spiritual inclination has already started. So in that way, there are several ISKCON devotees who are just waiting for such kind of opportunity, wherein no, they can academically pursue research and get a degree, and which can be useful in the secular world as well as in their own spiritual life. Plus, they can contribute, in a great extent, in this very Krishna conscious life. So there are a lot of devotees who are interested, and I am sure that they will be able to. Plus, the devotees who are already familiar with our philosophy, when they do research in this area, they will give their 100%, which is very important. Sometimes in the academic world, people do
Hmm.
the work for the sake of getting a degree. They may not even really pursue anything further in that own field actually.
Right,
Whereas
right.
those who are already part of practicing, living a way, the way of life, they make the philosophy as the way of life. When they do the work, they will put the heart, and then they will take it further also for the research. So it is very important that those who have a feeling for the way of life, they take up this, and they'll make great contribution.
Thank you. So just one last question I had was, you know, if you compare with Madhva Sampradaya and Shri Sampradaya, they seem to have very focused investment on training scholars. And so you have, Purna Pragya Vidyapit in Bangalore on behalf of the Madhva Sampradaya. They train for 10 to 12 years, you know, various, right from their small age. They are trained in classical Sanskrit and scholarship and things like that. Similarly, in Sri Sampradaya also, they have, several groups which are focused on training their people in very high class scholarship. So, do you think that ISKCON as an organization has done well with respect to the breadth in spreading? But we need to also focus on the depth in terms of investing on, real high class scholarship, at least amongst a small group of people who can potentially take it up to the next level, and so that the entire Gaudiya Vaishnava theology can be properly represented in the scholarly world in dialogue with the other sampradayas. Are you satisfied with the level of scholarship training which is given in ISKCON so far? And if not, then how do you think we should move in the next steps?
uh One thing in ISKCON is, because we are trained up to act as an autonomous entity, each temples are acting like autonomous entity. So in academic field also, there are so many efforts put by different group of devotees in different parts of the world. Like Mayapur Institute is doing something, and Vrindavan Institute is doing something, and Oxford University Study is doing something, and Bhaktivedanta Institute is doing something. So we are all having a lot of resources and lot of scholars, but then a coordinated effort is actually missing. which is
Right.
very important. So if no, there is a proper collaboration and coordination between our scholarly kind of devotees, and put a concerted effort, in a way which can actually bring all of them together, and then pursue a deeper study, that is very much possible. But then at the present point of time, this the coordinating factor bringing the people together is somewhat, maybe it is in our own culture how we are brought up, different temples acted in a different way. I think it is
Hmm.
high time that we come together, the like-minded devotee scholars, and set the agenda for how much we should take it, and then we can also talk about how deep we can do. So there is a lot of work remaining, and I would feel that once a recognition, formal recognition, like affiliation to an university or being a university is established, then it is very easy for people to come together on a platform. Even to come
Correct.
together need to be a platform, and I am
Sure.
sure that now that BVRC is already affiliated to Mumbai University, and if we
Hmm.
take it further with several scholars working and several projects are coming, and there is a wonderful scope of bringing people together. So it is definitely needed that we bring all the scholarly devotees together, and make out a way to work together to get many projects going, and that part a lot of work needs to be done, so that when it is done and we work together and make a lot of impact, then it will be satisfactory. Until then, I think we have to work together to get to that.
Thank you very much, Mukund Madha Prabhu, for your wonderful thoughts. And I think you are one of the trailblazers in this academic field. Way back 15 years ago, you thought about, doing a PhD, and I think your experience would be very much required to guide many new people who are going to come forward after hearing some of these discussions, like tonight's discussion here live. So thank you very much. And
Thank you,
now,
thank thank you very much, Gaurang Prabhu, and I am very much happy to be part of this effort. Thank you.
yes, thank you. So thank you very much, Harivamsh Prabhu, for waiting. And now may I call upon Dr. Himanshu, who is one of our academic coordinators. And as Mukundamada Prabhu rightly said, that there are many people in ISKCON world who want to get connected to academics, but they already have a full-time job because, as you know, especially in India, employment is equal to, education is equal to employment. So people go for higher studies mainly for getting employed. So it's very difficult to have somebody do full-time philosophy at the cost of his career. So interestingly, we find that in India, those who don't get engineering, don't get medical, don't get chartered accountant, who don't get into any of the mainstream academic pursuits, they go for philosophy many times. So ISKCON somehow attracts the top level talent, engineers, doctors, lawyers, advocates, and then the high level IQ gets attracted and connected to the Prabhupada's philosophy, starts studying Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. And so, if there is a facility created for some of these professionals who are already highly accomplished, very driven, very talented, to somehow to be able to manage a PhD, then we would have the best of both the worlds. At least to begin with, when it's very difficult for us to directly attract somebody at the undergraduate level into religious studies or philosophy. So, somewhere we wanted to make a beginning. So, we have begun an exercise which has been led by Dr. Himanshu, who is IIT All India Rank 3 way back in the 2000s, and then he's also a PhD from Stanford University, and he's currently employed with TIFR, and he's very kindly coordinating this effort as Seva. And I would now request Dr. Himanshu to take us through what have been some of the efforts so far in trying to attract the talent within ISKCON. What kind of part-time PhD facilitation you have been able to provide? How successful has been the effort? Do you think this kind of an experiment has a future? And what is your message for other talented, educated devotees across the length and breadth of ISKCON who may be wanting to have this kind of an engagement? So on to you, Dr. Himanshu, you have 15 minutes to take everybody through. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Gauranga Prabhu, for introduction and giving the opportunity for service. So I will straight away go to the slides. So how do we begin, or how do we bootstrap something from the scratch, especially things like MA and PhD program? The first thing is, how do we design a coursework? Because as Gauranga Prabhu mentioned, this program in the beginning would be attracting many professionals who are having a full-time job as faculties, as in corporate, as consultants, CEOs, etc. So we thought about this, and since we have to begin somewhere, we decided that we'll have a very unique program of coursework charted out in phases, because we don't want to compromise on rigor, yet at the same time be flexible so that even the professionals can pursue their dreams. I mean, think about, you have IIM graduates working in multinational companies and then starting to pen down their thoughts. Lo and behold, slowly, year after year, they write, and then they become the author. But there's a handshake involved. They start somewhere without leaving their professional commitments, and then there's a handshake, right? So we thought we'll still have it a semester system, summer semester and winter semester, but it will be in phases. The first phase, which we call the pre-assessment phase, which is an online phase. Our faculty will provide the reading materials, writing assignments. There will be communication online, but mostly it is warming up for the course. And this will be a very nicely paced out phase, pre-assessment phase, which could be around 3 months. So like in 2019, which was the first year of execution, we did it roughly from April to June. And then the winter semester pre-assessment phase is September to November, also 3 months. When Corona was not there, there were still discussions or possibilities of doing things online. I mean, Zoom, WebEx have existed even before. However, for humanities, it's very important that folks come together. So we never wanted to compromise on the classroom phase of the teaching and the potential that a classroom teaching can offer. So this is our phase 2. Roughly 2 weeks, but very much boot camp, very much intensive. Classes, the in-class component would be 3 hours daily, and it can include presentation, discussion groups, further interactions with the teachers, office hours, so on and so forth. So we did that in July last year and also December last year. So that was our summer semester and winter semester respectively. Finally, there is phase 3, which is post-assessment. And that's where after the student has gone through the phase 1 and phase 2, which is pre-assessment in classroom, they can reevaluate. They write their final capstone essays, much further interactions with the faculty, and then evaluations. This could be around a month. We did August last 2019, and January 2020 was the phase 3 for 2019 winter semester. So that's how we have spanned it out, and we have seen that way we are able to finish or comply with rather the hour requirement from the university side also, and it also gives a fair nice exposure to interact with the faculty and other cohort, because the relationship which is also made with the fellow students is very, very important. That's the first cohort which we had for 2019. Next comes, okay, you have had the phases. What do you do about the curriculum? And here also a serious thought had gone, because we want the students to get trained in courses and materials which will help them know the breadth and depth of the academic area, especially in philosophy and related areas, which you will see. And it is okay to have more rigor than less. So that's how we designed our coursework, in having one of the best assortment of courses by our several faculty, which are actually sort of superset of what is actually needed. They are superset of what is actually needed. But that's what we wanted, because many of the students are coming from they may not come from humanities background. So to have their growth from almost scratch, I mean, they may be knowing the philosophy, basic Krishna consciousness, or Vaishnava philosophy, but taking them all the way along this curve, it was very important that they take core courses, elective courses, breadth courses, depth courses, so on and so forth. But before all the courses, so these are the 8 courses which are designed for the PhD curriculum. The first course we wanted is academic writing and critical thinking. This is because in humanities, for those who are familiar, writing is the laboratory. And here you not only think to write, but you go something beyond. You think and write, and think by writing. So here, such a course was very important, and it's actually a prerequisite. As we are speaking, this course begins this Saturday, in fact, and it's taken by our very own Dr. Abhishek Ghosh from Grand Valley State University in Michigan. And this will be for our summer 2020 term. Now you see the 4 courses: Theory and Methods, which is the introductory towards religious studies and philosophy. In fact, that's also a requirement for our MA program. Ravi Gupta took it in winter 2019. Introduction to Indian Philosophy and Comparative Religions by Manali Londhe and Dr. Gopal Gupta were respectively taken in summer 2019. And we also did a lived religions, so that we know the practical part and the theory part both hand in hand, by David Haverman. Then these are the 4 remaining courses for the first batch of our PhD cohort, and these will be offered in summer 2021 and winter 2021 respectively. These are Western philosophy, Indian philosophy already done, Research Skills by Kenneth R. Welpe, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, Introduction to Hinduism, Interpretations of the Sacred Texts by David Haberman. And as you can see, we have been very diligent and very thoughtful in choosing our faculty. In fact, we are very grateful to our faculty that they have agreed to guide us, because we wanted that not only scholarship should be bred and should be taken up, but chastity and a commitment to our deeper tradition should go hand in hand. Scholarship and the chastity towards tradition should go together. And that's the reason many of our faculty are both practitioners as well as scholars. So they have tread the fine line in taking both the scholarship together as well as their commitment to Srila Prabhupada, and in some cases to their own Vaishnava Sampradayas. So that way we are very grateful that we have the best footsteps, so to speak, to follow. Now this is a perk, because venue is important. If one is kind of going from a tradition, from an engineering corporate setting with glass walls and cubicles to something which is a little bit remote, humanities, you need a fantastic venue to cut the deal, as they say. And thanks to Gauranga Prabhu that we have GEV with us. What you see on the screen, especially the rooms on the tops, this is the Gokul Villa at GEV. And the rooms, the glass rooms, which you see at the top, from which you can see the whole Sayadri mountain range, those are the brand new constructed rooms at GEV, which form the education block. In fact, the rooms which you see directly in front of you are the faculty quarters and faculty offices where the office hours happen. And the rooms further away, the glass rooms further away, they are the classrooms with amazing facility. And I'm just not speaking, but even the faculties were blown away by all the availabilities, all these resources. So this is important because when the immersive experience is happening, students want to feel actually there is an immersion, and the GEV backdrop provides a perfect ambience for such a study. Some of the sample reference materials, these are the materials which were used for the Theory and Methods course by Ravi Gupta. Critical study, 9 theories of religion, so that one knows what's going on in the society. Much of the things which are happening in the society are leaning towards either modernity or postmodernism, and actually those who would go in the forefront and give Vaishnava narratives to all the societal issues must know what is going on before they come in. So these are some reference materials. Familiarity with several world religions. We used Houston Smith's book. In around 1966, I heard Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture in the Mishra Yoga Society, and he quoted this book, mentioning that this is a very authoritative book, well-researched, and in fact, he made a particular statement saying that Surendranath Das Gupta mentioned that yoga philosophy is personal. And Prabhupada went on for quite a long time about, referencing this book and singing the praises of this book. So we are using these books for our Indian philosophy. For living religions, we have books on Govardhan and books on people trees and on Yamuna by David Haberman. Okay, I'll just wrap up with the current cohort we have. This is a subset which I'm presenting. There are many more applications and many in the pipeline. And you can already see that some of our students are coming from all walks and of life and profession, and they're accomplished in their own right. Some are cryptologists, some are faculties in management, employees in MNCs, principals in their colleges. Some sample topics are such as the one shown, the first one, study of the topography of Navdeep Mandal based on Bhakti Ratnakar. It's the famous book in the Gaudiya canon. And then integrating philosophical approach to study, river Ganges, especially in relation to pollution and specific problem of massive siltation. We have the MA program also instituted now, and leading by his example, we have Gauranga Prabhu, who's pursuing his master's in a legacy of community building in the Bhakti movement. We have exploring Bhagavata tradition, which Sumanta Prabhu already talked about, and also he talked about understanding philosophical counseling. So with that, I end, and thank you, Gauranga Prabhu. I think this is a unique way of carving out the program, and I'm sure this will be very much successful and well received.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Himanshu, for your kind words. And I'm sure that many of you who have experienced some of these topics which we just went through, I just saw one of the comments, of one of our participants in today's program who just said that this is like a dream, which he was always wanting to study some of these subjects. So it's a fact that compared to, 1977, when Prabhupada just ended his pastimes, and ISKCON in India had just begun to take roots. So in the last 10-15 years, the number of people who are coming from highly intellectual backgrounds and educated backgrounds has grown, and there is tremendous amount of interest in approaching spirituality in a very intellectual and academic manner. And I'm sure that this particular presentation and some of the thoughts which have been shared by Dr. Sumanta Rudra about all the various academic programs and the conferences and the books and publications and research projects which are happening, right from biographies of and autobiographies of great acharyas to the Vaishnava encyclopedia to the various Bhagavad traditions. So the scope for this is tremendous, and I think ISKCON being at the forefront and cutting edge of many of the activities currently, especially in food relief and book distribution, and also with respect to various kinds of educational programs happening with respect to the Gita education across the schools in India. I think it is but natural that ISKCON and ISKCON devotees are specially privileged with the opportunity to lead from the front this entire mission to establish religious studies in India through a proper strategic plan, along with a dialogue with the government of India, with the Ministry of Education, with the policy makers, and the kind of human resource which ISKCON has attracted in the last couple of decades. I think we have the right mix of people who could actually add tremendous value in these efforts. And today's presentation, thanks to the GBC SPT team who gave us a platform to go live with all of you, is simply an effort to share with you some snippets, some drops of what is happening, and just to give you a glimpse of the ocean of possibilities. And this is an invitation to all of you to get connected in any way with any of these initiatives at any level, and to make a beginning in your journey in the academic pursuit of spiritual education. So, from Team Bhaktivedanta Research Center, we wish all of you a very good evening and Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to Dr. Sumanta, Dr. Mukunda Madhav, Dr. Himanshu for joining us this evening and sharing your valuable time. And thanks to Sakshi Gopal Prabhu for hosting us this evening. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.